For almost 50 years, no one knew who killed this little girl in Pennsylvania. But now police say they found her killer, and it's a former pastor who's been living in Marietta for years. That's 83-year-old David Zanstra. He's now charged with killing 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington.
And the disappearance of 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington. Hundreds would search for her shortly after she vanished from her Lawrence Road home.
Imagine you are a prominent pastor at one of the 2 churches in your local town. You have a loving family of 6 and you're super excited because you just introduced your newest child. Because of this, your 2 oldest daughters are needed more at home for a little bit of extra help. Your youngest, who is 8 years old, has to walk to Bible school by herself today, and it's not even a mile from the house. Come to realize though that she never made it to Bible school, and the last person to lay eyes on her was your close friend who is also a pastor. This is the heartbreaking story of Gretchen Harrington. Hi guys, welcome back to KW Lawholic. It's Kayla. We're here with another captured case for today, and I'm super excited to get into it. If you're new here, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Let's get right into the story. Gretchen Harrington was born in 1967 to Harold and Ina Harrington. Her parents describe her as being a happier child. She was innocent, very uncomplicated, very sensitive and shy, but she really liked people. Her sisters would describe her as a nice little girl who loved the TV show Gunsmoke and couldn't match her clothes. She was known for always mismatching everything. She was always in church with her dad and her sisters and just her family, and she was ready to walk in her dad's footsteps of wanting to be a pastor herself. She was generally a hopeful child, and she didn't cause any problems to anyone. We get into the day of the crime. It happened on August 15th, 1975. At around 9:30 a.m., Gretchen and her peers were supposed to arrive to a camp. This was the church's camp and Bible school that they had. First activity on the agenda for them was a morning exercise led by David Zanstra, and that was the reverend at the church, Trinity Church. Then at approximately 10 a.m., half of the children would be transported to the next church, the Reformed Presbyterian Church, and that's the church where Gretchen's father, Harold, Reverend Harold, was the reverend and pastor of. The children would stay there for the remainder of the day through the summer camp Bible school. And David Zanstra, he was the one responsible for transporting all of the children. He would pick them up and drop them off. So around 10:30 a.m., Gretchen's father, Harold, he started to panic because Gretchen did not arrive with the rest of the children after being transported. He immediately started searching nearby. He was searching the property of the church, the outside streets, the woods, seeing if maybe she stopped to the store, anything. But she was not there. After he did a little bit of searching on his own and Gretchen wasn't in any of those places, he then contacted his friend and other pastor, David Zanstra, to find out what was going on. David's wife, Margaret, was the one who answered the phone because she was currently at the Trinity Chapel. Now, it must be noted, because it's very important in the phone conversation, she noted that David Zanstra, her husband, was somewhere on the property of the church, but didn't arrive by vehicle. After that phone conversation, concern for Gretchen's whereabouts were spreading super quickly. By that time, Zanstra, at 11:23 a.m., had made a call to the Marple Police Department to report that Gretchen was missing. In his police report, Mr. Zanstra said that Gretchen was an 8-year-old girl. Her hair was blonde and in pigtails. She was 3 feet and 6 inches. She was about 50 pounds, and she was wearing dark blue shorts with a zipper and a snap in the front, pockets on each side with no visible buttons, and a white top. Pretty good description if you ask me. Approximately 8 weeks later, on October 14th, 1975, Gretchen's body was found in Ridley Creek State Park. When Gretchen's body was found, her skeletal remains showed that it was a small human body, and her autopsy revealed that the cause of death was blunt force trauma. She had craniocerebral injury. She had suffered at least 1 to 2 hard, blunt impacts to her skull, leaving her with a depressed skull fracture. That means she was hit so hard, her skull had indentions into them. On August 17th, 1975, just 2 days later, the media began picking up what was going on with Gretchen's case. But throughout the next couple of months, through witnesses, camp teachers, students, parents, they were all interviewed by the police. And they were giving various different statements, witness accounts, just any facts that they could have known that will become crucial.
I grew up here, And she lived down at the bottom of the hill, the church. Her father was a pastor down there.
They were able to figure out that there were a lot of observations of either a green station wagon with a light top and dark bottom Cadillac or a white car. And they would say that this car stopped by a little girl who was near the church and was speaking to her for a little bit. And the only thing that was kind of weird about this is because the camp's routine was broken that day, they stayed longer than usual. Now, it's been a couple of months, and on October 30th, Zantra is called back into the police station for further questioning. He is asked about the morning of August 15th and what he was doing. He told the police that he started picking up children for the opening session at 9:10 a.m. and he was finished with the pickups and back at Trinity Chapel by 9:30 a.m. And he denied ever seeing Gretchen that day at all. He said he did not see her, not once. He also had told the police that he was totally unaware that she was missing until he was called by Harold at the Reformed Church at 11:05. And if we remember correctly, Zantra called the police on their behalf at 11:23 a.m. Let's just do a small little recap of everything we've seen. Gretchen, she's an 8-year-old girl. She had to walk to Bible school today by herself because there's a new baby on the way in the family, and she never made it. And there's a bunch of confusion about where she is from one church to the other. No one knows where she's at. And the person who gave an almost perfect description of her whole entire outfit says he never saw her at all. So now eventually Gretchen's body is found. They see that she was murdered. So the town is pretty on edge. They're looking for a killer. They're looking for a child killer, to be specific. Now, the next crucial and super important interview came from a child for safety identification reasons will be named Net. This interview provided the most gut-wrenching information for the case. Net, who was a friend of David Zantra's children, Mara and Kristen, would often have play dates and sleepovers at their home. Net told the police that when she was 10 years old, she remembered Zantra touching her groin area in the middle of the night during 2 sleepovers. Net had told her friend Mara, his daughter, about what happened during the night, and Mara told Net that this occasionally happens and that she sometimes hears her sister crying in the middle of the night. So, after his last interview with the police and him saying he never saw Gretchen, that was it. And through time, Zantra and his family eventually moved to Plano, Texas shortly after. Because of a lack in evidence and the fact that DNA forensic analysis wasn't introduced yet, the case of Gretchen Harrington went cold for 48 years. The Harrington family remained lost and heartbroken throughout that entire period of time, until recently on July 17th, 2023. New information by an unnamed friend of the victim, Gretchen, led state police to go interview David Zantra in his new home in Georgia. On July 17, 2023, David Zantra finally admitted to investigators of the crime and murder of Gretchen Harrington. During Zantra's confession, he acknowledged that he did see Gretchen walking that morning on August 15th. He saw that she was walking alone and drove up beside her and asked her if she needed a ride. Now, Gretchen immediately recognized him. She knows that that's the pastor at the Trinity Chapel. She knows that's one of her dad's close friends. She knows that that's her best friend's father. So, of course, Gretchen said yes to the ride to get to Bible school quicker. He picked her up in a green Rambler wagon. And if we remember, witnesses said they did see a green car in the area. After Gretchen entered his car, he drove her to a really secluded, woody area near the church. After he parked his car, he got her out and took her to the woods. He then and there instructed her to remove her clothes, and Gretchen completely refused. She also had stated to him that she really wanted to go home. David Zantra then performed a solo sexual act and then hit Gretchen in the head twice. After that, he did notice that she started bleeding from her head, and when he checked for a pulse, he didn't feel one and believed she was dead. So he then covered her up with sticks and went back to the church like nothing happened. After reaching the church and hearing her dad call and say that she was missing, he helped along. He acted like he was just a good old citizen concerned for Gretchen's well-being despite knowing what he actually did to her. Due to the nature of this crime and the close nature Zantra had with the Harrington family, Zantra had the means, motive, and opportunity to fully kill Gretchen. Ina Harrington had just brought home the new baby the same day that Gretchen was murdered. That is the only reason why Gretchen had to walk alone to school that day. Something that David Zantra did tell the police during his interview after he confessed was that he felt super relieved to have this off of his chest and heart. He expressed that it felt like a weight had finally been lifted off of his shoulders. When we get to the after crime, a key piece of information that helped spark that memory from Net and what led the police to interview Zantra was a book written by someone who did live in the town of Marple and was a child at the same time that Gretchen was. Her name is Joanne Falcone. She is the author of Marple's Gretchen Harrington Tragedy: Kidnapping, Murder, and Innocence Lost in Suburban Philadelphia. According to the Pennsylvania court records, Zantra has been charged with criminal homicide, murder of the first degree, murder of the second degree, murder of the third degree, kidnapping of a minor, and inflicting bodily injury and possession. Zantra was then taken into custody in Georgia, where he was denied bail and remains in Cobb County, Georgia, awaiting his extradition and trial. After his arrest was made public, the Harrington family did release a statement. They said that they were extremely hopeful that the persons whose actions took away their Gretchen will be held fully accountable for the murder. It's difficult for them to express their emotions regarding this heinous crime, but they feel they only have to take one step each time to get closer to justice. Gretchen was only 8 years old on August 15th, 1975, when she was taken away from them. They said that if you met Gretchen, you would have instantly liked her and she would have instantly became your friend. She was super sweet and super gentle. Even now, when people still share their memories of her when she was 8 years old and her life before, they just say how much she touched them and how sweet of a child she truly was. Gretchen made a lifelong impact on everyone who met her despite only being 8 years old. They acknowledge that the abduction and murder of Gretchen did change the trajectory of their family. They say they will forever be altered and they will always miss her every single day. Online records show that Zantra, on the other hand, worked at the Trinity Reformed Church in Bromwell from 1969 to 1976. Throughout his 40 years as a pastor, Zantra was also a minister in California, Texas, and New Jersey before he finally retired in 2005. Officials say that a DNA sample from Zantra was taken and will be used to compare to the ongoing and open cases they have in Pennsylvania and other states and towns around the country. The officials are urging anyone with any information on Zantra to actually come forward and speak so that other cases that happened during the time period he was there with children have a chance of being solved. I now would just like to say my condolences and send them towards the Harrington family. I'm glad that you were finally able to get justice for Gretchen and he can be behind bars for the rest of his life. And I hope you guys just finally get some solace and peace to know that her killer is finally caught. So that wraps it up, guys. Thank you for listening to my next captured case. I can't wait to see you all on my next video. Thanks for visiting KW Lawholic. See you next time.